Okay, dealing with blocks. Now, blocks are emotional blocks that happen to every creative and actor. Blocks can happen a couple of different ways. Blocks can happen when we're actually involved in the acting interaction. There can be something that can happen during the interaction that can cause a block. It can trigger something that we haven't yet personally or professionally dealt with yet. Now, personally, if there's something to be able to deal with, that's going to be more of a thing to look at. But professionally, it's just as important because professionally, we want to be able to, when we're triggered with the emotions, when we're in the acting interaction, when we're working with music videos, we want to be able to, when we receive something from someone and it triggers something in us, we want to be able to give back the response. So when with no hindrances. So when the responses occur within us in real time, that is staying in the moment, we are staying in the moment to be able to give back in the moment what our unfiltered, what our raw and authentic talent and response actually is. That is what we're working for. That is an element of which really affects whether or not people want to be able to continue to stay connected to us when we're doing our creative art, craft, music, anything that's creative. Now, blocks are going to happen. Blocks are something that, for instance, when I was working and still do sometimes, but more so several years ago, there would be times when I couldn't, like, I would work through my blocks, but there would be a time when I knew that I hadn't hit a block for a while, like a blockade, right? It would be a blockade in my work. It would be something that I knew that was a special thing that I had to take aside, work on it specifically to be able to work through the block so that I would have my personal and professional expression unhindered if that topic came up. That is the point of it. The point was, and this is the reason why, honestly, why artists and creatives of all kinds of different creatives usually have less encumbrances in their life if they work through these kinds of creative processes, because they're not there's nothing that's stuck in them, because every single time we work to be able to understand that we are unhindering our talent, we are unhindering our responses to be able to authentically have responses. So that births creativity in our art. That allows us to be able to have the heart and emotional muscles to be able to have connections with others, both on stage and TV, in music, in acting. This is how we're able to achieve this, is because we know, look, you know, there was a certain point where I was working so hard in classes, outside of classes, where I would know, I would see a block in an actor in class, and I'd be like, okay, I have to test that. So what I would do is I would test it. I would go back and test. I was like, oh, I wonder if I have that block. And then I would see, and I would work with my emotions and the area that I knew that I saw that there could be something. Sometimes it wasn't that the other actor had a block. It was just an emotion that I knew that I had to work on. And I would work on that emotion until I had no encumbrances in that expression. So what that did was that what you will feel like when that happens is you will feel the freedom. I can do roles of parts that some people wouldn't be able to do, because I've been able to jostle or loosen the ability to be able to have responses and still have no encumbrances, which essentially that is talent. That's what the definition of talent is. My definition of talent is to be able to put emotion into interaction. When you're able to put emotion into interaction, you're starting to harness your own talent, your ability to be able to express in an unfiltered way is the raw authenticity, and that's what we work on. We work on being able to find the blocks, which again, I'm saying something that's very significant, because when you work to be able to find the blocks in your acting, you're working to be able to release both professional and personal encumbrances. And that's going to be something that's going to allow you to be able to connect and resonate with the ability to, well, in resonation, the ability to resonate in a deeper way with that emotional range will end up being that result. In the connection of with other actors, you're going to be more spontaneously inclined. You're going to be able to give off your expression regardless of what it is in a real-time scenario. Um, the ability, I had somebody recently say something about that they could tell with some of the work that I'd done different, basically that they could see my thought process in what I was achieving or what I was doing. So when people are able to see my thought process, that is because I have worked so hard to be able to have that transparency of authenticity. So it's not an accident that people are able to see that thought process. Now, you get the atypical. Atypical is a type of a personalities, and there's other personalities that also will do this, where people will start to think that transparency is a weakness, when but they're the people that cut themselves off from their own humanity. So, and that would be very apparent even on a film set or in a music video, where you've got some circumstance where there's that kind of dynamic, and that kind of dynamic sometimes will be able to help move stories along, or be able to help people to know how to be able to establish boundaries so that they're not caught in those situations in actual life. And that's the reason why we've done that in art. So, but this incredibly comes down to still working on blocks, being able to know that we have blockages within ourselves, that we want to be able to have more freedom um, and responses with. Now, a response isn't just spontaneity of being able to be quick thinking. There's a lot of great different types of things in acting. Sometimes the thought process with spontaneity will be if a person is quick-witted or not, if they have the ability to come back with something clever in the logical sequence. What I'm talking about when we're speaking about blocks, we're talking about emotional blocks. Now, the reason why um, this would still apply to the many different facets of what I have created with the emotions triangle, which is thoughts, ideas are at the very top. These are the least amount of these are the least resonating of the creative process to work with. Although it's sometimes great ideas and thoughts can immediately get down to the emotions. It can be a very quick elevator ride down to get to the emotions. But at the top of the triangle is the others people's thoughts and ideas, then your own thoughts and ideas, then you got feelings, and then you go into the past, you get deep feelings, and then you get into the emotions. And the emotions are things that will stay, the resonations of the emotions are where we want to be able to work, so that we can actually literally with a tangible emotional sense move from one transition of something into another emotional transition within the film. We want to be able to achieve the ability to move to do that. Now, you might be able to do that between two or three different emotions, but you may not be able to do that with other emotions. And this is the reason why I have 800 emotions that I said every single actor, every single musician, every single writer, every single creative needs to be able to learn and study that book, because we want to be able to expand our emotional range. Because there's a lot of audiences still that have been not even uncovered, because we have such a small emotional range within the creative fields, which is, that's my opinion. And there could be many different projects, but we want to be able to expand the emotional range, the range of which is beneath our rib cage. We want to be able to do work to be able to get the blocks done at that level, because that is at the level is going to, when we get that level unclogged, we then start to have all the other responses work 100% fluidly. So, I mean, even all the way down to your root chakra, you want to be able to get the emotional levels completely clear, where you know that you can go any direction based on what you are influenced by or what you receive. And that is the difference between A-level blockbuster talent, what it should be, and what the ability of somebody who's not going to be cumbersome enough or flexible enough to be able to make those adjustments. Look, some people are going to feel things at different levels, but when we work at the emotional level, then we're able to reach a wider audience, because then we're able to reach all the different levels of the creativity and the ability to be able to activate within ourselves, which is going to translate over to everything, including what we actually do, what we're actually working on. What we do is going to affect us to a deeper level. What we do, and when we're working to be able to do stuff, or listening, or when we're listening, obviously needs to involve hearing and processing with an unfiltered way. When we have an unfiltered way about us, we're going to be able to have all of those connections of our own instincts and talents that are going to be able to have full responses of. So we will both be quick-witted, but yet we'll still be able to receive it down at the emotions level. We'll be able to be more versatile. We'll find more talent within ourselves because we've been able to figure out the blockades that we have. Now, we might have a blockade with regret, because we have too many regrets. Or we might have a blockade with some regret, but not other regret. Or we might have a blockade with despair because we're still going through grief. So if there's a grief in life, that's something that hasn't yet been able to be dealt with, that's going to be something that's going to be a block that we have to be able to work through. Can we put that grief out into expression? Can we put the elatedness, or we won the lottery? Great. Well, then this is a situation. Can we put that kind of excitement out into the world? Can we put that out into expression? Can it be an unfiltered expression in real time? That's another great question. When we release our blocks, or when we take away the encumbrances of what stop us from expressing ourselves, we start to be able to empower our talent in a way that's incredibly, incredibly unique. So listen, check out emotional preparation, all that. Please keep submitting questions on different topics and questions that you have about acting, and I'll just keep working through stuff, and check out the Emotions podcast. Thanks so much. Bye.